On previous episodes, we mentioned that our co-host Roni has rheumatoid arthritis, and we received a couple questions from our listeners asking about her symptoms and her diagnosis and how she treats it. So we are going to pick her brain today. So grab your drinks, pop in those earphones, especially if you have little ones around, and let's dive right into episode 62. Cheers! All right, Roni.
That's good.
Roni's chugging it over here. She's nervous about being in the spotlight. Okay, Roni.
I am.
Tell us about your diagnosis. Like, what led you to the doctors to find out that you had this?
First, I'll start off by explaining to everyone what exactly rheumatoid arthritis is. I'll give you guys the definition of it.
Thank you.
Rheumatoid arthritis is a long-term progressive and disabling autoimmune disease. It causes inflammation, swelling, and pain in and around the joints and other body organs. Rheumatoid arthritis usually affects the hands and feet first, but it can occur in any joints. So that's exactly what it is. It's an autoimmune disease.
Okay, so what makes it different from just regular arthritis?
So usually regular arthritis, like osteoarthritis, just usually only attacks the joints and the bones. Like usually athletes and older people, if you ever been around them and they get achy, it's just of the bones, but they don't have all the extra symptoms that come along with rheumatoid arthritis, which is the fatigue and grogginess, the constant achiness, your immune system is lowered because of it, because autoimmune disease. So all of that stuff usually doesn't go with osteoarthritis. It's just the achiness.
So
I feel that sounds like just getting old.
Right.
Pretty much. Usually that's what people it's almost a stigma. When people find out, they're like, you have arthritis? And I'm it's different. It's rheumatoid arthritis. Babies can have rheumatoid arthritis.
Really?
Yeah, there's babies that have it.
Okay, so is it osteoarthritis?
Yes.
Okay, osteoarthritis, is that just in one particular part of your body, like your hands, or can you have it the full body?
It depends on the person. I know sometimes you can create osteoarthritis from, if you were injured, say you were injured when you were younger and you broke a bone or something. Usually the doctor says later on in life that will be arthritis in the area later on. Because of the bones. It kind of attacks all the joints and bones. So usually most people have it their elbows or their hands or their shoulders, wherever the joints are. Usually that's where you feel it the most.
And for rheumatoid arthritis, it just attacks your whole body?
It can attack your whole body. Some people have because I met other people and did support groups and stuff when I first found out that I had it, because I was so confused by it. There's some people who their problem area are their elbows, and then there's some people whose problem areas are their knees or their legs, so it just depends on the person.
So what symptoms were you feeling that led you to go get tested
so
for it?
For me, I really and I feel I always kind of thought something was wrong, even in high school. I remember complaining to my parents, man, something is wrong. My legs are always aching 24/7. I'm just always achy. I would feel very fatigued and groggy. And my parents took me to the doctor and they were oh, it's just restless leg syndrome. I had a doctor tell me that. Then I had a doctor tell me, oh, it's growing pains because you're growing. No one really really wanted to run tests and do all that because I was so young. But then as time went on and I got older, and then after I had kids, with each one, the symptoms kind of got worse almost. So then finally by the time I was in my 30s, a doctor finally diagnosed me, because someone I was speaking with, they were if you don't ask them to take the specific test, you're never going to know what it exactly is. So I finally asked the doctors, can you take these tests? And they took the test, and sure enough, it came back that my levels were horrible. So let's say, for instance, the test, your good levels are 15 is good, and they were oh, yours are -4. It was that bad. It was that bad. So I had to do, when I first got diagnosed, they put me on all of this medication. I wish I had the picture. I took a picture, and literally there was no lie, maybe 20 bottles of medication that they were trying to tell me to take, because they were like, oh, you need this one for the side effect. Oh, you need this one so that it'll slow down the progression. Oh, you need this one so it'll help your mood support. Like, it was ridiculous. And usually a lot of those medications and symptoms kind of go hand in hand with lupus. I don't know if you guys are familiar. Like, a lot of the symptoms with rheumatoid arthritis and lupus are kind of, I feel like they're always hand in hand. So usually when they check you for that, they're like, let's see if you have lupus too, because it usually goes hand in hand. But luckily, nothing came back for lupus.
And what was that test called? Do you remember the test that like your friend had recommended?
It's you can ask your doctor just to give you. It's a simple blood test, but it's strictly for rheumatoid arthritis. So you just have to.
So you had heard about rheumatoid arthritis, and you're like, I think I have that. I'm gonna ask for this test, or you.
I met a mom who had it,
and
she was telling me her struggles and all this stuff and how she feels, and I was like,
me too.
Wait a minute. I'm like, this sounds like identical to how I feel. And then she's like, you might want to get checked. And she's like, they don't like to diagnose you before 30. Like, it's just something, just like almost with kids with asthma. Like, I know they don't like to like give you that stigma until you're a certain age, even if you did have asthma. So, she was like, you may want to tell them to test you specifically for that, or else you will never know you have it, because it's a specific test. So once I asked them to test me, and sure enough, like, without a doubt, they called and was like, yeah, that it came back, like, we are alarmed about it. So you have it, and we want to, like, come in for treatment and all that stuff. I feel like there was a time where it got really, really bad.
Before or after the medication?
After the medication. After medication, and after I had, before I had my daughter, it started getting really, really bad. I don't know if, and it's weird because it's like nothing that you did, or it's just times, I guess, that if I feel like if I overexert myself, I would realize, like, when I would have take on so much and I'll be doing everything, my body would just literally shut me down. Like, literally, where there was days where, and people didn't even know, because I'm like constantly doing things, and it would be times where I couldn't get out the bed, and I would literally like tell my husband, like, I cannot move.
Like you're tired or hurting?
Hurting and just tired, like exhausted. Like, my body was like, you can't even get out the bed today. Like, I would literally couldn't move. And I would just have to take days where I just rest, and they call them like flare-ups. And so I would just have to take days where I just had to sit in the bed, and they would bring stuff to me, and my joints were just so swollen that even to like pick up a cup or pick up my phone would be so painful. Like, it was times where it got like that.
Did you ever have that before the medication? Did you ever, so you already were experiencing that type of flare-up before
I even knew what was going on.
Okay. Yeah. And then even after the medication, you still were having
I still had flare-ups.
So did the medication even help? What did it help with?
So the medication helped with the pain at the moment. So whenever, and there was different medication that they told you to take, like, there was one that they said, like, okay, you need to take this because it'll slow down the progression. So if you, like, Google images of someone with rheumatoid arthritis, later on, usually down the road, their joints are, like, contorted, like, where, like, their hands will almost be closed, or, like, they're just disfigured. And one of the medications was to slow down the progression so that when I do get older, I won't have, like, you know, disfigured joints and stuff like that if you catch it early. So, like, there was medication for that I didn't feel anything at the moment, but supposedly the long-term effect was good. And then there was medication where it would, like, suppress me for a while. Like, I would take it and it would suppress the pain for a little bit, but it was never anything that would, like, help me get through the day all day, unless I was just like constantly taking medicine, which the medicine would make me even more sleepy, and then I would want to stay in the bed. So it was just kind of like, this is not going to work for me, a mom with all these kids and just a wife, and like, I'm like, I have to like figure out another solution, because this is not working, and I don't want to be on medication like this for the rest of my life. Like, I don't want to.
Do your parents have it? Is it a genetic thing? Do you know?
So they say that it could be genetic sometimes, that it is, but for me, I like did a survey. No one else in my family has it. They have arthritis, but no one has rheumatoid arthritis. So I don't know if it's so much genetic, because I don't know where it came from for me.
You had mentioned that you had to get on a steroid. Was that for the medication for your rheumatoid arthritis?
Yes. So as I mentioned, like it got to the point where I was getting more flare-ups and feeling more fatigue, so they put me on a steroid, and I feel like that was the worst thing. Yes, the steroids, I feel like it took more of the pain away, but the long-term effect as far as like all of the side effects, like you have so many side effects. You have from feeling nauseous to headaches to weight gain to puffiness to like, it's just a ton of side effects that come with that.
So it makes you feel even worse, or
for the moment, it's kind of one of those things where like it helps you for the moment, but you know it's bad, but you're like, well, this is helping me at the moment, so let me do it. But the long-term results are terrible. I was on steroids for at least, I want to say, almost 5 years. And then it got to the point where the steroids weren't helping me, and then they wanted to do a form of chemo. And then that was, and I think I don't know if you guys remember where I was going through, where they were talking about, okay, coming in and doing chemo infusions to bring down my levels, because they were getting to the point where like they were uncontrollable. And all my family was like, no, let's make that the absolute last result if you have to do chemo.
So you didn't do it after all?
I didn't do chemo.
You did that stem cell.
Yes, I did stem cell surgery instead. I did my research also because I'm not a big person on medication anyway. Like I'm always looking for like a holistic approach or a natural approach, or like if you do more of this, then this will help this. Like I'm always looking for that way out versus the medication,
because every medication has a side effect that's going to make you feel,
and then that's
like
what they
shit.
do. They give you something for the side effect, and I'm like, why am I taking this? And they're like,
which gives you another side effect.
Exactly. And then before you know it, I'm like, no, I can't function like this. So I did my research. I had spoke with a few people that did the stem cell, and they just said like wonderful things about it. I know even people who do like stem cell facials, and like stem cells are like amazing. So I was like, well, I would rather try that first before the chemo, because they told me that all the things that come along with chemo would happen to me. So I would lose my hair, I would lose weight, I would lose my appetite, I would just everything. And I'm like, how am I gonna do that and like have a
3 kids?
Family? Yeah. So even though the stem cell surgery was a bit, like, I feel like it was very drastic. Like, it was hard for me, the healing process. But I'm kind of happy that I did that versus the chemo. Because I feel like that would have just... I honestly feel like, even though it was supposed to help, I feel like just going through all that to get to that point would have been too much for me. I think it would have been too much.
So the stem cell, what was the procedure?
So what they do, the stem cell, is they go in and they test your first you have to get tested to see if you can even do it, because some people may not have enough healthy stem cells. They have to see where they can take the healthy stem cells from, and then they inject like a enormous needle, almost like if you get an epidural, and they take out the stem cells through fat. And then they like take them out, and then they spin them down, and they get all the good stem cells, and then they like push them all back in you. They inject them all back in you. And then it takes about, they say it takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months for you to actually feel a difference, for them to like move around and get situated inside of your body. I will say that doing that at the time, I feel like 2-3 months in, I was like, this didn't work. But now where I'm at today, and with following along with like a healthy diet, and I did a ton of research and looking into this and seeing what would work for me, and between the stem cells and just following like a more healthy diet, staying away from acidic foods and foods that cause inflammation, I feel 10 times better.
And you think that it has to do with the stem cell
as well?
You think if you didn't change your diet, your healthy diet, that you would still feel
and that's what I don't like. I feel like a mixture of both of those helped me, because in the beginning, when I had just the stem cells, before I even switched over everything in my diet, I felt a little difference. My family would say that they've seen a big difference in me. My husband said that he's seen a enormous, which he would know the most because he was around me the most, and he would see my flare-ups and stuff, and he was like, I feel like those stem cells help you tremendously. And then once over quarantine, and it's just barely new because over quarantine I started reading books on like how to heal yourself through food and different things like that, and I followed them, and I'm happy to say like to this day now I'm not even on not one medication, not even the medication to slow down the progression, which I probably should because I don't want my bones to be, you know, disfigured later. But as of right now, I'm on. Happy to say I'm not on not one RA medication.
And have you gone back to the doctor and like?
Yes.
What did they say?
Went back
that
to
you
the
were off
doctor,
your meds?
which was so funny because I went back to the doctor for them to test my levels and everything. And literally it was so funny because there was all these doctors like coming in and they were like comparing like my paperwork. They were like, well, what do you do? The first thing that they do, which is funny, is because they come in there and they're like, what did you do differently? And I'm like, well, I had the stem cell surgery. Like now it's been over a year. So I'm like, I had the stem cell surgery like a year ago. And then I've recently changed my diet to a more like plant-based vegan friendly diet. And then they're like, wow, well, your levels are like amazing. Like whatever you're doing, keep it up because they had like different nurses coming in looking like,
Tripping
look, when she was just here. It was
miracle.
Yeah, they were like, when she was just here, look at this. And then now, and I'm like, oh,
now, okay, so hold on. So you had your stem cell transplant or implant, whatever it's called. And then after that, like how many months later did you start eating healthier?
So what's funny is I've always been like a kind of like watch what I eat kind of person anyway. But like being super strict down to the point where I'm like
trying vegan.
Yeah, like super clean. So I had my stem cell surgery in October 2019, and then when did we go into quarantine?
March.
And then yeah. So oh my gosh, so that wasn't very long. So from October 2019 to we went into quarantine in March.
So it's 5 months.
For 5 months, and then probably about I would say like around April I started like really like going seriously with the vegan and plant-based where I was like, okay, let me see if this works. That was in April. So 6 months.
And how immediate did you start feeling like changes and brave enough to drop? Because you didn't just drop all your medication at once. Like you kind of weaned off.
I weaned myself off.
Like how quickly did you start feeling good? And also,
let me put a disclaimer. They always say like, do your research first. Like anyone listening, like do your research. Because I did my own research. Like I did my own research. I bought all these books because, you know, what worked for me may not work for you. And I don't want to tell anyone to just go cold turkey off of your medication. And they tell you to never just stop a medication instantly. Like you definitely have to wean yourself off. So by the first week, I already felt 10 times better.
Eating vegan?
The first week, which I thought it was like a month. I was like, wait a minute, like there's no way. Like I noticed like, so let me just give you some background. Normally before this, to get out of bed, like literally laying in bed, I would literally have to take medication to even get out of bed.
Oh wow.
To even get out of bed. And after doing this, you know, the first day I did it, okay, still medication. Maybe by the third, fourth day, I was like, I don't feel like how I normally feel. I don't feel so achy, like, And then by the 5th day, it got better. By the 7th day, I went like the entire day without taking anything. And I was like, wow, like I think I'm on to something. Like just by changing your food, like can make you feel this much better. Like I had energy and my mood was changed, like just a variety of things. So I kept it up. And then by the 2nd week, I felt even better. And then it got to the point where I was like, okay, like why would I go back to what I was doing when I'm feeling so much better, like keeping up this diet? And so that's what like has motivated me to like not go back to meat or anything yet. Because I'm like, do I want to feel like that again? So I keep...
Do you want to dive deeper into like what you were eating before? Because you were health conscious before. So like, you know, you were eating salads and stuff.
Like
and if our listeners are like, oh, I could just eat a salad. You know what I mean? Like, you want to dive deeper into that?
Well, because like, for instance, like, it's not, I don't even think it's just about like salads and stuff. Because for instance, tomatoes is like
acidic.
Almost, yeah, acidic, and it's not, it causes inflammation, especially if you have rheumatoid arthritis. They kind of tell you to stay away from it. But naturally, you think of tomato, you're like, that's that's
as healthy as can be.
It's healthy. Yeah. But for me, like, I know to like kind of stay away from the tomatoes, and then I kind of put more things in my diet that I know are help with inflammation, like turmeric and ginger and things like that I did my research on, and it's better. And it helps you, so I make sure that I ingest some of those on a regular basis. But some of the things and I love tomatoes, but I still eat tomatoes every now and then. I just don't like indulge in them because of that reason. So just a matter of like picking and choosing and seeing what works for me and how I felt after I ate it, and just kind of monitoring that and
you guys are a family of 5, right? So the whole family didn't go vegan with you.
Didn't. So
how did you navigate that? Did you just cook yourself a separate meal?
So I'm still navigating that, and I'm still in here cooking steak and chicken and all that for them.
Oh my god!
But I'm not eating it.
That's torture.
I'm not eating it. But you know
just
what's
the smell
funny?
of it.
What's funny is it is so funny how things work. I think because I like completely took it out my diet and I'm trying to do things a little bit healthier, that I don't even crave it, which is absolutely crazy. Because I'm like, what? I don't even crave the stuff, even when I'm cooking it. Like, I'm a sucker. I was a sucker for like hot wings. Anywhere we would go, like, I'm like, I want to try their hot wings. And I was just telling my husband the other day, I'm like, I don't know how I like haven't like cheated or like sneaked to like get a little wing or something.
Like, did you go balls to the wall cold turkey, or did you wean yourself into it?
I went cold turkey over quarantine. Quarantine gave everybody strength or something. Like, I feel like through quarantine, like,
everything was closed too.
Yeah.
So like, I can't have those.
You found this like,
girl, I gained weight during quarantine. All those tamales, like, what are you talking about? Not everybody.
Not even about losing weight, but just about a sense of like, I feel like you have more time to like do your research or stuff like that. Because I feel like if quarantine were to happen, exactly, I wouldn't have had time to like sit down and read these books about how to heal yourself through food. I wouldn't have had time to do that.
So are you kind of nervous with everything opening up? And if you go back to work, doing events and stuff, do you worry about flare-ups? Or do you feel strong like you're...
Well, so far, and which is incredible for me, because usually I definitely have flare-ups often, and let me knock on wood. I haven't had a flare up yet, so I don't know. Who's to say? I mean, I could possibly get one, but so far I haven't had one, and I'm not really like scared about things opening up and stuff, because I feel like the way that I feel now, and I know that I feel 10 times better, that's motivating me to be like, oh, it's not even worth it. Like, what I felt and how bad I felt, and like, it would kill me. Like, I'm laying in bed and my husband's like seeing after the kids and I'm hearing them in there and I can't even move. Like, I'm like, that is not even worth it for me. Like, if this is actually working for me and helping me, then I'm going to stick to it regardless of how hard it is, because I like the end result of how I actually feel now, you know? So I'm like, that's my motivation.
What was the hardest thing for you to give up?
Hot wings?
Your hot wings.
The hardest thing, you know what? The hardest thing probably was cheese.
Really? But there's vegan cheese. Does it not taste anything near it?
Vegan cheese is totally different from real cheese, especially if you know what real cheese tastes like. I think I'm on like my 19th try of cheese for vegan cheese, because it's so hard like to find a good vegan cheese that like melts and tastes kind of close to cheese. They have like a cashew cheese and a like some of the taste is just not what they're trying to pose off as cheese. I'm like, that's not cheese.
So you've been 100% vegan for a year now?
I'll say 90% vegan.
Okay, so talk on
that. Because every at least maybe like once every 2 months or something, I'll do seafood.
Okay.
Because that would be hard to completely give up, like shrimp and crab legs and stuff. But so far,
so like once a week you do that?
No, once every 2 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So you're
so-
damn near vegan. You're
Yeah, I
just
say
basically-
90% though.
Okay.
But I don't, and I try to see, because I don't like labeling things.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Don't
So I
put a
kind of
label
just, I kind of try to just like go with my mood, but since I haven't craved things like that, it's been easier. But that's one of the things that is kind of hard for me.
Okay, so you're gonna have to tell us all the books that you read so that we
we'll
can
definitely
list them
link
and link
I
them.
have them. We'll
'Cause
definitely
I feel like
link
you're
them.
a walking
We'll
miracle.
We'll definitely link them, but yeah, it's like such a miracle to me that I'm just, and it's almost scary too. I'm trying to kind of slowly transition my family to because
vegan?
I'm like, and not just to vegan, but like sometimes like I'll put a little like vegan cheese on there, or like the other day I made my husband like a vegan pozole soup with a vegan quesadilla, and like it was nothing left on the plate, and I didn't even say it was vegan. And he was like, that was so good. I was like, it was an entire vegan meal. And he's like, what? So I'm slowly like introducing.
You don't even tell them. They'll
Because
just eat
he
it.
has allergies to
Yeah,
like
he has a
cheese
lot
and
of
stuff. So
allergies.
how was his reaction? Did he have to go to the restroom
No,
after?
he
or
didn't even
was
know
good?
the difference. Like he didn't even know that it wasn't the taste or anything. Like nothing.
That's so
Mhm.
funny.
And even the kids, like I'll do their like snacks and stuff, and I'll make it a vegan snack. They like there's vegan cookies that they love, and I don't even think they know that they're vegan. Because as soon as I say that, then everyone's like,
Oh no.
We don't want your diet stuff. That's what
Isn't that funny?
your diet food. Okay, so is it
diet.
more expensive? Though? Like, be honest. Is it more expensive to be vegan?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's way more expensive. But what's funny is when I first started this whole thing, and I sat down with my husband and I told him like, okay, I just like test this out for a week, and like I felt 10 times better. And we like literally sat there, and I'm like, but it's expensive. I'm like, it can kind of get expensive because I'll have to get my food from here, Whole Foods, and I'll have to do this. And he's like, do what you have to do, because at the end result, you feel better, and it's going to be cheaper for us anyway than you getting
Buying
all this
medication.
medication and later on down the road.
Okay.
So that was good that we had
That's
that
true.
agreement, because it is cheaper if you look at it that way, from all the medication and all the doctor's appointments. I'm still saving money.
And then in the future, you'd be even worse off.
Did you get vegan like cookbooks or like ideas on Pinterest, or what was your go-to?
I got cookbooks, and then I started following a lot of pages on social media and stuff,
Okay.
and going on Pinterest and stuff, because it's a totally different like lifestyle, like
Yeah, it
totally
sounds
different.
like it.
And I knew nothing about it, and I was and they say like the first year that someone becomes a vegan is the hardest, because you don't know, and you don't know how to get the proper nutrients too, because
Yeah.
you just think like, oh, no meat, I'm just
So
gonna
no
do salad.
protein.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you have to know like your beans, the garbanzo beans, and different ones that will give you your protein, so you can still have energy and
Yeah.
you don't feel like lifeless and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it's definitely a lot of work that went in behind it, for sure.
Was there a book that helped you too to kind of get all the nutrients that you needed, or
there's
that we can link?
actually, I guess I'm gonna give her a little shout out, a lady on Instagram called
Free
the
shout out.
vegan fairy godmother or something,
Uh-huh.
or vegan godmother on Instagram, and she has been like amazing. But the funny thing, there's different kind of vegans. There's like raw vegans who only eat raw food, they eat no cooked food. There's
Wasn't that what you started
I
with?
started at that.
You
which
started
was
with all
super,
raw stuff.
I started at that. There is alkaline vegans who only eat foods with alkaline. So there's all different kinds, and she has a ton of recipes. I've even ordered like some sea moss supplements from her. So she was kind of like, she was a godmother in a sense, because it was like guiding me on stuff, and you could just go on there and find out different things and stuff. So yeah. But
Well, thank you for sharing your whole rheumatoid arthritis. Rheumatoid. Why can't I not
Rheumatoid.
say that word? It's like anyway, if you guys know somebody, or if you guys know somebody who has this, make sure to share this episode with them.
yeah, or hit me
Or
up if you
have more questions for Roni.
or,
Yes.
like if you have questions or want to know like how you can get started, or
Thanks so much for hanging out with us. If you want to catch up on our previous episodes, visit mamasmimosas.com, where you'll get access to all of our podcast show notes, our YouTube videos, and our private Facebook group, where we chat with you about each episode topic and host live question and answers with our favorite mom tribe. Can't wait to see you there.